And so, yeah, we've got a great program here tonight, and we're going to talk about forages and how we can improve our forage quality and really benefit our overall grazing system. So, without further ado, we will introduce Mr. Harry Cope. We're happy to have him on here, be a part of this conversation, and I think everyone is in for a real treat listening to his ideas and practices. So, Harry, if you don't care, give us a little bit of an introduction about yourself and kind of what's the status of ag? Are people in the field? Are you dry? Are you wet? Have we turned out cows? So, just kind of give us a ballpark introduction here, please.
Okay, guys, as far as turnout, we never went in. We don't do that. We pretty well graze all winter long, either with bale grazing or other things, or milo grazing, things like that. So we're just tickled to see green grass. We're in excellent shape as far as if you're a crop farmer, you can flat get with it right now. The problem is when you get down 2 feet, you find out it's really dry under there. So if things are good, grass on, we probably are almost 30 days ahead of average of the long-term running average. But we weather-wise, it's good. Things are it's nice to see green grass. That's all there is to it. Now, we are basically a diversified livestock operation. Very little row cropping. I'm really dangerous around equipment. If it's got an engine, I can break it. So we try to let our animals do as much as we can. With that being said, we do feed stored feeds. We try to keep that down to about a 30-day window on, especially on our breeding stock and those animals. Now, our finishing animals, I'm literally breaking rules for me. We've been feeding some high quality grass silage since last July to supplement our finishing animals, trying to do everything we can to get more out of those guys as far as growing them and finishing them. But we're cattle, sheep, hogs, chickens, turkeys. It kind of looks like old McDonald's farm around here sometimes. We're scattered out over about 1,300 acres total. 500 acres of that is woods. The rest of it is there's about 200 some odd acres of tillable land that we tend to grow annuals on. And the rest of it would be mostly a perennial pasture. Over the past 10 years now, we've seeded down over almost 500 acres of diverse natives. And by that, I mean diverse, not just big blue, little blue Indian. It's about a 40 species mix. But that being said, grazing standing milo in the wintertime, we've been doing it for 30 years now. It's one of those deals. It's like you ever do it twice, you'll never back up. So that's kind of the short version of us.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Harry. Now, one thing you left out, what part of the country are you in?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're right here on I-70, right between St. Louis and Columbia, right in the middle between them. We live about 5 miles. We're about 7 miles north of I-70. We're in an area. It should be a lot of grass farming. It's a whole lot of row crop. Terraces and no-till and reduced tillage is everybody's fan. Excuse me, but tremendous amount of row cropping going on around us, and in reality, it shouldn't. But that's my opinion.
Yep, I think we can agree on that driving across the Midwest in different locations too. Me being in the southern part of Illinois, um, constantly see it. And then people complaining about why everything's eroding and washing out. Well, that's what happens when you leave the soil bare for six
You're
months.
not supposed to be doing that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Very good. Okay, so Harry, um, as we look at grazing any type of livestock, how is this quality forage impact the animals, the ground, our checkbook, and so forth?
It basically impacts all of that, Logan.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
these high quality forages, one thing, like I'll go back to the milo grazing for winter feed. On a pure cost factor, it's between 30 and 50% of the cost of hay. Okay. It's one of those that you can figure it any way you want to. Um, if you figure hay replacement costs, that makes the milo worth basically somewhere between $10 and $15 a bushel left in the field. You can harvest it and sell it for $4 if you want to, or you can feed it out there and then keep all your nutrients and still get paid for it. And from a quality point of view, if you've ever wintered a set of fall calf and cow calf pairs, we can get fall pairs, the cows will gain weight. At the window of time, they've got 90-day-old calves. We're breeding them. They never gain weight in that window.
But yeah,
Um,
that's such a big deal because I feel like a lot of folks may not have a fall calving herd just for the winter feed cost and trying to keep those nutrient levels or nutrition levels up in those cows. Now we can talk about compensatory gain on the calves, but the cows in itself, that's such a big cost factor. And if you can graze milo like what you're saying, uh, and be breeding cows successfully during that window and adding weight, that's a huge deal.
yeah. And the other thing you got is, and I think you guys probably have it over there the same way we do here. We have toxic fescue. Okay.
Yes.
And that's one of those things. July breeding on toxic fescue for spring calving, or even you get into August, whatever. If you're calving in January, you're breeding in late April, early April, but there's also really no good feed to be breeding on at that point in time. It's the idea of matching that cow's nutrient needs up to the forage production cycle somewhat. I mean, that's if you've got toxic fescue, you're pretty well going to be a fall calving operation, or you're going to get there eventually. You're going to run out of cows.
Yeah.
And so that's one of those things. That's one of the other reasons why we went to so much to natives, is it allowed us to go back to April calving, May calving. I really like May, the 1st to 15th of May. It's the same window that we lamb in. And it's just kind of, you find yourself, everybody says we haven't got time for doing it then. It's like, if you ever do it once, you're going to find yourself standing out there in the pasture doing a slow circle going, there's something I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't see it. There's a lot of just leave them alone. They're doing their job. They're doing a very good job.
Talk more about this diverse native pastures that you're perennials that you're establishing. Um, yeah, so what led you down that path? Were you working with some annuals at the time and decided let's do some perennial stuff, or what made you go down the perennial native path?
What made me do it more than anything else was when I leave my driveway and I drive down the highway to get over to my mom's place, they're all right there beside the road. And they've been there for 40 years. And every year they grow. They grow when it's wet. They grow when it's dry. They don't grow when it's cold, but when it's hotter and all bloody sin, they're growing. And I'm slow to observe sometimes, but you get past that. Finally, you realize, like, why don't we have that on the other side of the fence? And then I run into some folks that in the seed business, and they had like a 90 species mix that they put in. And I went and looked at that one summer in July, and I went, oh boy. When I'm 6 something, okay, in height, when I walk out into a pasture in mid-June and it's up to my chest and it's all leaf, there's no feeling like that turning a set of cows into a pasture in mid-June. There's not a seed head in sight, and it's all leaf. And the only thing you can hear is rip, rip, rip when they're going through it. And it's like, you look over the fence and it's like the seeds done fell out of that one. And just, there's no comparison. And then the one that'll get you is with the perennials, the warm season perennials. They're a C4 plant, so they're way more water efficient. You get into a drought situation, you're looking around, it's like everybody else is fried out. We're still grazing. And we got plenty of feed in front of us. It's the diverse mixture. I do not have proof of it, but here's my thoughtful observation of it is simply, you don't grow as much feed on the cool seasons that you have in the mix as if they were by themselves. You don't grow as much feed out of the warm seasons you have in the mix if they were by themselves. But when you put them together, you grow more feed on that acre than you would grow with either one of them by themselves. And then you've got the ability to use it about 10 months a year. The first time I tried warm seasons was been a long time ago. I was 20 some odd years old. And I couldn't get over the fact that they told us, June, July, and August. I'm like, there's 9 more months. We can't use it. And so we didn't do much with it. But once we got into the mixtures, one of the things about the mixtures is if you want to be in control, don't do that, because there's no way to be in control. You're all kinds of things. You're always right and you're always wrong at the same time. And if that bothers you, don't do that. It's just
Yes.
it's like that. How do you manage it? Well, you just kind of don't. You do what needs to be done,
Yep.
and the productivity that you get out of it is pretty incredible. And that productivity translates right to that bottom line on the money you spent. Because like the amount of fertility we do not apply, we haven't honestly have not fertilized a perennial pasture in almost 30 years.
Wow.
Just we don't.
Yep.
And the productivity of our plants compared to those around us, we're grazing when everybody else stopped.
Hmm.
And we tend to run higher numbers of animals per acre than they do.
Yeah.
But it's a much longer season. So
For sure. So have you done any leaf or forage samples to test like protein or fat or energy or fiber, stuff like that?
the only thing I've done in that nature was last year was the first year that we made some of this, what we consider high quality grass silage. We were making baleage. And we tested it literally the day it was made. And some of it we inoculated, some of it we did not. And we tested it again in 8 weeks. And the difference of it was is the energy levels did not change. They were all excellent. Um, the surprising thing was that we sampled some of this diverse native. We made silage bales out of that, and we were probably 2 to 3 weeks ahead of where we should have been because the guys were here cutting it and baling it. We did it,
Yeah.
and um, the animal preference on both all of it's been very good. Um, as far as the energy levels, the one thing we found so far is that for the most part, protein is almost never an issue. Energy on a high quality forage, to me, that is what we're after.
Yes, sir.
And
I
that energy and the digestibility of the fibers. And I don't know that I can't read the feed test well enough to be make a good conversation about it. I'm trying to learn it as to those different things. And that's one thing about on silage is there's not a tremendous amount of information out there on grass silage.
Yep.
A whole lot of alfalfa, clovers, and one of the things we've learned is red clover is tremendously good stuff. And it's one of those things that it's got a super wide window of quality. And red clover that's got seed falling out is still great feed, which is I need that kind of ability to move things around, because you get it. I mean, that's where I do not like the winter annuals from a silage or baleage point of view because you about have 1 week of really good stuff to straw with grain in. And that always hits at the wrong time for me for the most part. So I don't do it. I'm the mechanical stuff that requires real strict timing. It scares me because I invariably miss
Yeah.
on that.
And for us anyway, this year excluded so far, March and April when we're needing to get some of that stuff out, it's pretty much raining constantly. So that just
Yeah,
really makes it that much difficult to
yeah.
get that done. So that's a very good point for sure. So you talked about the gentleman or the seed salesman that maybe had 90 different species in a native mix. It was that kind of the selling point to you, or what made you go from, well, we've got some fescue, but we want some more diversity. So walk us through that.
We had started out literally our journey on this was kind of like everybody else. We started some of our very worst ground, putting natives on it. I finally gotten down to putting on the very best ground we got. So it's going to get real interesting to see what it does there because nobody ever puts it there to start with. And what they don't realize is what it can do in that situation. And we started off with literally single species, big blue stem. With a very, didn't just want to be careful. Start with one of those, Then we went to big blue and Indian. Then we went to some more diversins, and then we had some gamma grass, and then we just kind of what we ended up doing was putting together a mix with several people's help of this species. It had about 8 or 9 species of tall, warm season grasses, about 8 species of cool season grasses, natives, and the rest of it was about 23 or 4 species of forbs, which is another way of weed. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
But that mixture was put together in such a way that it would tolerate a 3-ounce rate of imazapic for early weed control, and as long as it was applied pre-emergence. And that's what we did, and it's amazing how well it has worked. And it's just turned into you. The nice part about it is, you get fields that have varying soil types and topography and things like that. You have varying plant species in various places, and then it does that other thing to you. From this year to next year to the year after that, it's not the same. It changes back and forth, and part of it depends. One of the things that we try the hardest to do on these diverse mixes is to make sure that we don't utilize it the same way we used it this year, the way we used it last year. Vary your timing of utilization and when you impact it. And that seems to make a huge difference, because with the diverse mix like that, you're always hurting something and helping something. So you keep doing it at that time, you push your mixture one way or the other. And so we change what we do. And that, somebody once said, this is called organized chaos. Pretty close.
Yeah, that's very good. Well put. Because we were converting some crop ground into some native pasture years ago, and we put like a 16 or 18 way mix of summer annuals on it, and it was wild to see what grew where and what, or why, and how that transitioned. It sounds like it's similar to kind of your mix there as well. So
It's
that's
exactly the same thing.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. That's great. Now, how are you when you first started down this journey and even to now, something we all fight is fescue. It seems like every chance it gets, it tries to take over a stand of maybe some new pasture and suffocate some of these other things out. So what are you doing to mitigate that?
Okay, that's where I have to stand back and go, I don't have that issue. Um,
Okay.
Once you get a native C4 plant established, fescue can't take it. Just can't take it, because it's
Yep.
got a root system way underneath. And right now, this is what, the 15th of April, thereabouts.
Yep.
You'll find that the native warm season grasses have about an inch or two less leaf on them right now than fescue does.
Okay.
And by the time you hit the end of April, they've got more leaf. And these are mature plants that are not stressed out. I mean, they're not, they can do their job. And
Yep.
so far, I actually kind of encourage the fescue to come back in, because it can't take it over. I literally have one pasture that the natives have taken over the fescue. Now, that ain't supposed to happen, can't happen. It was a
Right.
former crop field that was fescue, and the droughts of 2012 and 2013 did it, because that field pasture, we had been clipping it early, like as in May, to keep seed heads down, trying to grow summer stockpile to base. Well, along comes 12 and 13, and they just knocked the pudding out of the fescue, and these natives were sitting under there, and they just popped through. And what it looks like right now, at this time of year, it looks like a cool season pasture. Really does.
Yeah.
Come back the 15th day of July, and it looks like a really good native pasture with forbs in it. And
Yep.
it just, so that's, I've had multiple people, and I've shown this to people from the top of the line to the bottom, or whatever, just keep showing them. And it's just like, you can't do that. It's just, right. Apparently I can do it right here.
Yep.
And it seems to be the concept of fescue. If fescue is taking over your natives, seriously examine what you're doing. And the one thing that you can do to a diverse mixed pasture is graze the pudding out of it right now without fertilizer. If you like to throw fertilizer, now that's where the ball game changes. If you put the fertilizer on, now fescue's got an unfair advantage. Okay, just don't. And it's like, come in with some legumes or something else. Just, if you stop and look at what you're doing, if you're adding the fertilizer, you're aggravating the spring bump. What are you going to do with it? Okay, it's just figure out where to put it elsewhere, or spend that money on a legume like Lespedeza or something later in the summer. That would be my suggestion more than anything else. And then the other one that you can put with fescue is Eastern Gamma Grass, and I'm sorry, it ain't got a snowball's chance in Guam on that deal. Gamma will just, because Gamma's got this big horsey crown, okay?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And it comes on within about 4 days of when fescue does. It's that early. That's the problem with fescue or Gamma. It's so early. But Gamma and fescue If I had to pick my two, you allow me to have two grasses and that be it, it would be those two. And that's not my favorites. My favorite's the whole burn bunch. But fescue and gamma grass and possibly Indian grass gives you an early, middle, late winter mix that works. Throw a little bit of clover and lespedeza in that, and dude, you're pretty much smoking.
Yeah.
That just fits, and it's a very, if we leave the nitrogen out of the program, and it's hard to do that to start with, mostly because I was broke to start with, and I still am, that we don't do it. But the growth that we get and the productivity of those things is just, come drought, we're far more. When we add the nitrogen to our pastures, we aggravate our drought situation, our drought susceptibilities, because we pushed our plants kind of out of their zone. I mean, we're looking and thinking like we're going to be a crop farmer, and that's what we're after, but it's like, not so much. We're growing forage, not grain. Yep. And there's a difference there.
Yeah, so let's hit on a little bit, because I agree with you, and some others may think we're crazy, but putting forbs in this mix. Most people try to get rid of weeds, and we're adding them in. And like I say, I'm on the same page as you are, Harry. So let's dive into that briefly here a little bit.
If you're concerned about quality, you really want to make yourself feel bad, go sample your weeds.
Yep.
And you will be like, wait a minute. Common ragweed, the blooms, the seed head, it's like 40% protein. It's like, what? That's soybeans. Yeah, that's it. Pigweed, the bane of the world, is excellent feed. Almost all of our weeds that are what we call an invasive, is like, there's very, very, very few things that, even Sericea lespedeza, which is almost the spawn of Satan, but it's close. Right now, cows just mow it off. Okay, it's lush, it's great. They'll just take it, and and it's got a high tannin capability, which is a natural wormer. And so there's these things have good and bad properties. The key to it is try to get them when they're good. And it's one of those deals. I hate to say it, but a cuckleburr is not bad feed before it makes burrs. They like them. Once it makes burrs, it's another story. And cuckleburrs are going to be, and I have them, they're a symptom of pugging your pastures. You trample pastures in the mud, you're going to get cuckleburrs. The thing about it is, the natives are tall enough and aggressive enough, cuckleburrs can't shade them out. Because they're, the window of the cuckleburr really hadn't started yet, and the natives are coming on. They get up on. That's the thing about these tall natives. We're talking about plants that have an operating, I call it operating zone. Start graze, stop graze. Start graze is middle of your thigh, 34, 36 inches. Graze to the top of your boots, 10 inches. Okay, a cuckleburr, he can't handle that. And it's just. They grow so fast in the heat. A cuckleburr grows fast in heat, but you can't keep up with them. And if you got a really severe situation, pull out a bush hog. People tell me that I need to spray my pastures, and it would make more sense if I did, but I lose all my other broadleaves, and I don't want to do that. So it kind of depends. We've used a roller crimper, a roller crimper. Works very well on cuckleburrs. You crimp them. You don't cut them off, but pretty well kill them all. They get, you crimp those stems every 7 inches if they quit growing.
James asked us, what's the best way to determine natives in my area? He is in central Illinois.
There's one of the best techniques ever. Get some of your favorite beverages on Sunday afternoon. Drive around and look in the road banks. You mean go up and down the gravel roads. Try to find the places where the guys didn't bush hog them, keep them all nice and neat, because that pretty much sets everything back. But what you're going to see, it's oftentimes you'll see what's growing in the road ditch as to what's supposed to be there. And you'll be amazed at what you will see. I mean, once you start learning things, but if he's in central Illinois, okay, I don't know central Illinois, but I understood it was awfully good black ground to farm with, which meant tall grass prairies. So that's your big blue, your Indian, The other, these native prairies, they tell us that those things are only about 30 to 40% tall grass. The rest of it was forbs and cool seasons. There was a tremendous amount of stuff out there. It wasn't just a pure big blue stem and Indian grass stand. Okay. And a monoculture of a native is still a monoculture, and it's still not what it should be. You'd be amazed at what animals will eat. There have been several of these studies that once these animals got acclimated to it, they would take like almost 40 species a day if they had the ability to get them. They would go, literally take that much stuff. And, by that amount of diversity, the animals are super healthy. They balance their diets, especially on a cow. They've got the ability to feed test almost everything they eat by wrapping their tongue around it. I think they've got 100 times the sensors in their tongue that we do. So a cow can almost literally feed test something without eating it. And it's just like they will do their best to balance out. If you give them a chance, if they got one thing, they really can't balance out.
And the other perspective of that is just all the different root systems that are working with soil
Oh,
biology in that situation. That's kind of the other end of
that's
that spectrum.
yeah, that's just that's you don't want one root exudate in the soil because there's only one set of biology that can really work with that root exudate, and that's kind of the beauty of it. It's like you basically want about as much. You want as much diversity in that soil as you can get, and that creates your biology, which creates your mycorrhizal fungi, which keeps everything else, which water infiltration. Those are huge. What they always talk about in drought, the only thing that matters is how much water you kept, not what did you get.
Yeah.
3-inch rain, did you keep 4/10 is kind of pretty much filled up the creek for a little bit.
Yes. James had another question here. So he's thinking about putting red clover after wheat. Can I bale and chop that? And what kind of feed does it make?
You can make excellent feed out of that. The thing to be cautious of is almost direct cut it. Just for silage, pretty much direct chop it. Don't wilt it hardly at all. You want to keep that moisture level up, and then what'll happen is you'll find out is that the straw will suck up the moisture out of the clover. So your challenge is going to be keeping your moisture level high enough, even direct cutting it. But it'll make phenomenal feed. If you're feeding that to cows, they will polish the bunk. They won't waste nothing. They'll eat every bloody bitty of it. I mean, and one of the cool things about that situation also is if you got a bit of a weed problem in that wheat field, guess what you did? You just cleaned it all up. Those weeds that you were so worried about, if you chop them at that point, they're excellent feed and they're off the farm. You just basically did what guys are doing where they're trying to combine things and have the weed seed destroyer out the back, kill it all. Well, you killed it. You run it through a cow and fermented it. It's done.
Yep.
Turned it into feed.
So Harry, how difficult is it to, or let me back up a little bit. What are you doing to prepare the pastures or the crop ground to come in with this mixture?
The one thing that we do significantly different than most of the recommendations is people like to talk about the recommendation of, like, if it's a fescue pasture, kill it in the spring, plant a relatively diverse set of annuals that you can graze through the summer. The spray smother spray technique. Okay. It works. It's built around the idea of kind of developing the mycorrhizal fungi. And that is correct. There is one small drawback to that turns into a huge drawback. When you kill that pasture in the spring and then you plant a set of annuals, what you have done is completely woke up the weed seed bank in that field. And I mean woke it up. And the next spring, when you go to plant your natives into that, they are ready to rock. And it's the second season of bare ground. I mean, they're coming at you, and they're coming at you in droves. So it works. The thing we've done different than that, and this is a technique that our private lands conservationist, Jordan Bashir, has developed over here, was kill the fescue in late October, early November, but make sure that it did not make seed that year. Graze it, clip it, hay it, whatever. Don't let it make viable seed. Then catch it coming into the fall like that. Keep it fairly short, but kill the mature plants then with Roundup. That's it. Then turn right around and plant. We plant our diverse natives. We tend to broadcast the whole mix because everything just scattered. If you can drill it, it's even better, but be sure that you don't get it too deep. That eighth to a quarter of an inch and a lot closer to that eighth than anything else, you really just want that seed down there against soil, not in the soil. That's important. And then what we've done is I brought Elizabeth Steele down Hamilton's, came up with this idea, and it's a tremendous idea. When you plant that stuff, keep some of that seed, put it in a brown pot with some potting soil, cover it just barely on top, and set it on the south side of a building that you're going to see a lot. Okay? And do this, and whenever you do that, and if you're doing it in February, March, you're ahead of the set, that's when you need to for the forbs, but plant them then, and watch that pot, because it's in a warmer spot than that field is. And whenever things start coming up in that pot, you've got about 10 days before things are coming up in your field. And what we do in that window of time, we come back with another basically quarter Roundup and 3 ounces of Mazapic, and we stop. That's it. We spray it, because what happens is the fescue seed is already germed. It's coming next spring. So you wind up with 2 and 3 inch tall plants out there that's coming from seedlings. We take them out, but we've only basically opened up that ground in the spring to start the weeds. So now my favorite weeds have got a running chance. They're not behind the 8 ball, so they can compete. And what we do after that, the thing that if we feel like we need to, especially if you drill it, now they're all lined up in neat little rows so you can find them. When I broadcast them, they ain't neat little rows, and I have no idea who they are. I can't find them. So but for weed control in that situation, clip it, and clip it fairly high. Please don't graze it, because your cows are far more selective than you are. They will hit your small plants and set your seedlings back. If you use a bush hog or a clipper, you give everybody an even haircut. And the idea of that is just keep to where light can get down to those small seedlings. Don't worry about real short. And you may have to clip it twice, and the second clip's going to be significantly higher. And once you get past that first week or two of July, don't clip it again. Let everything go. And you will be absolutely amazed at what's standing out there the 15th day of September. Done properly, you wind up looking at head high, seeded out first year plants that you're really tempted to think, I could bale this. Don't do that. Just leave your plants grow and build their roots. And if you feel like you need to do something, come in the spring and burn it off, and you will be set up for a pretty productive second year. You won't be at full production, but you'll have a lot. And it's a very simple technique. It tends to work, and it doesn't stretch out over 2 years of our window of seeding. The concept of having this spring seeded annuals to graze in the summertime is good. It's a great idea. I just think we can do a better job without it.
Very good. So with you broadcasting most of your seed, are you doing, your huge diverse mix all at once?
Yes.
Okay.
We use I have a Vicon wand seeder, with that has the wiggle wand on it, And what I do to get this seed mix, when you pour it out of the bag, you're like, somebody swept the floor. I swear. They're in there, but I was like, okay, it looks like floor sweepings. But what I do is I'll take and grind corn through a grinder mixer, pull the screen out and just grind it, not real fast, just crack it all up. And I'll basically put the seeding rate to where I will spread about 75 to 100 pounds of corn per acre with that. And all it is extender, gets things to flow through my Vicon. And I basically set it up I go on 15-foot centers, and I get a good coverage. What works really good is I use poor man's guidance. I can't like that February snow. I can follow that line. I don't have guidance on my tractor. So, but that works out extremely well. If you got to get a drill, same thing. Go. It'll work out. You don't have to put the extender in it, but I take the drill money and put it towards more seed and go with that instead. And at that window of time, in that February, real early March window of time, you're early enough to where it snows and rains and everything else, you're going to get that seed down there. And be ideal if you could run cattle out on it without pugging it. You got all them feet, put the seed down, perfect. Just don't let them pug it.
Yeah. So you're more or less frost seeding it all then.
It is a frost seeding situation. That's what I've done the most of by a long shot. Not all of these seeds come up. Nature is smart enough to not put them all where they all come up the first year. You know, that way if it goes bad this year, some of them come up next year. And so that's one thing you can do to it to make sure that this thing will really hold out for you is if you wind up with seeded out plants the first year and you don't do anything to them, you just set up your seed bank for the rest of your life by letting them go to the ground. You know, you've applied 5 times to 10 times as much seed as you needed, and you're good to go. You'll get it worked in, and that's one of the things that we try to do here if we can, is allow that to happen every, say, 7 years or so. If we can kind of let this have a full green seed nest and then come in and graze that hard in the dormant season, we put all that seed in the ground, we've recharged our seed bank for my life, probably.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible. Boy, you make it sound easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made sorry, I can mess up really great ideas, but it's not difficult. Okay, it is not real difficult. Just don't worry. If you're a good crop farmer, you're going to give yourself heart palpitations all summer long. You're just like, we can't let them weeds grow. Yes, you can. Okay, don't get so excited. This is a very long-term investment. Okay, it doesn't all have to work perfect this year. You know, if you get a good stand started this year, take care of it next year. The third year, you are rolling. I mean, one of the things that we've looked at and kind of done some figuring on, if you'll look at a 5-year period of time, the first year, the seedling year, you got a 0 production, nothing. Second year, you probably got a half stand, half a production year. All right. Third year, you're at full production. Year 4 and 5 is not the same as year 3. They are more each time. And the productivity at the end of that 5 years, I'm sorry, it smokes what the productivity would have been if you'd left it alone all for 5 years of what you had before. I tell people, it says, on these deals, on these grasses, if you will not change your mindset about the way you handle them, please don't do this, because this will not work because you screwed it up and it's your fault. Not anybody else's, not the plant's problem. It's your fault. You did what you weren't supposed to do. You played the game like you knew before. This is a different game. Change the way you think to get different results.
Can we talk about maybe 3 to 5 key steps to improve our quality forage or forage quality, starting today even? I mean, most people have turned out onto cool season perennials at this point. Um, so, you know, with maybe existing pasture or even planning ahead to maybe or summer or fall planning. What's some quick steps that we can take on right now?
On the pastures that you've turned out on now, you can graze those pastures. And if you're thinking about, if you abuse a pasture right now, it's going to be very hard to come back. You can hit it hard and then leave, but if you take that second bite right now, boy, you really hurt it. Yeah. Okay. If you're wanting the potential to possibly interseed some summer annuals, take the second and third bite right now, but plant the summer annuals between the second and the third bite. And what you'll do is you'll really set back the cool season pastures. Your annuals will be able to come through it, and once they're through it and coming, then in the winter, the weather's heated up, then you can apply some fertilizer and really push them. But don't put the fertilizer down right now when you seed them, because you'll kick the cool seasons off that you're abusing. Yeah. And so the other main thing about it is, do yourself the favor of leaving probably more residual than you have in the past. What you need to do is be sure you leave the leaf area for your plants to respond. You know what happens when you graze a pasture really short and it rains? And you go, well, why is my grass growing? Well, it got any leaves to grow with. And so, you know, the energy is in the upper portion of the plant, not the lower portion. That's just, you know, that's one of the things about it is try, you know, treat your plants kind of like you and I. We can work like a dog for a week straight, get a lot done. We got to go 2 weeks. We ain't worth shooting a second week. Same with your plants. They need their rest. The rest period is almost probably more important than the graze period. That's probably the best answer I could give anybody is the rest period. I mean, even these natives, I tell folks, they can stand the abuse. They just cannot stand continued abuse. And quite bluntly, neither can our cool season pastures, with the exception of toxic fescue, and that's because it's trying to kill your cows.
Yep, that's a very good point there, Harry. And that's what we preach a lot: rest and recovery. It don't matter what you do on that graze; it's what you do with your rest and recovery period. What variety of pasture mix are you using, and where are you getting it from? So, like I said, kind of some of your species, you don't have to hit all of them because I know there's a lot. But where are you getting your seed, and kind of what is in that mix?
As far as the diverse native mix, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. I'll give you the real quick, blunt, roll down version. It's on the tall grasses, it's big blue stem, little blue stem, Indian grass, switchgrass, gamma grass, some side oats, grama. And then on the cool seasons, it's about 6 different kinds of wild rye, clover, fescue, some river oats. Those are the majority of just the cool season natives. And then on the forbs, it could be anything from rattlesnake master to compass plant to plant. Oh, geez. Cup plant, various sunflowers. There's about 23 or 4 of those species. Okay. And we get them. I've gotten them from several different vendors. It just depends on whoever else, who's around you. The one thing I would suggest to you is, by doing this, is try to talk to your vendors and see what varieties seem to be the best adapted to your area. Okay. Here, one of them that my favorite ones is on big blue stem. I prefer one variety called Z70, which is, it's a variety that the Plant Materials Center at Ellsbury has put together from a compilation of all kinds of big blue stem plants from all the way around the state. They brought them in and kind of selected through them and like this one, that one, basically made a variety out of them. And it's one of the most productive and rust resistant ones I've been able to get. And I tell people, it says, if you're going to plant big blue stem here, get that. The Indian grass that I like the best grows on a 10-acre field 2 miles down the road that came out of the seed bank. It's not a variety. One of those things is look around and find things that grow in where you are. I mean, natives are natives, but they're also adapted. And if you find something that's been around your spot for quite some time and you like it, get it. I've found a few plants of eastern gamma grass growing in a spot that eastern gamma grass was not very common in Montgomery County, Missouri. However, there was a few plants there that I asked a guy who'd been around here a long time, and he knew where they were at. So I've been handpicking those for the last 2 years, trying to populate them. So you ask the people who supply your seeds, and ask lots of questions of different people and see what works, and go look. That's one thing. Don't become a professional visitor. Heck, that's what I do. If somebody's got something going on I want to know about, I invite myself over. I go visit. I call them and I go see them. But that's, I mean, that's the best thing about you. And a lot of this stuff, that's been one of the kind of the standards of it is you can show people on podcast, you can show them PowerPoint, and do all that stuff. But until they're standing in the middle of it, then they get it. You know, it just, you see a lot of things, but once you're standing in the middle of a pasture like that, you're looking around going, yeah, I need a little bit of this. Actually, I need a lot of this. And you'll see what's there. And you're like, you're looking around going, we ain't got anything like this at home. And that, it's, you know, and go look at it when the times ain't good. You go look at some of this stuff in a drought and you're like, oh my God, what's it growing on? But they got roots that are 6 and 8 and 10 feet in the ground. There's a lot of water down there sometimes, at least for a little while until they use it up.
So we wrap up tonight. Mr. Harry, thank you very much for your time and your knowledge. I hope it kind of gets everybody's mind a rolling on how to improve pastures and forage quality. And it's great. First off, if you're new to our webinars, this webinar series is all in accordance with the hub, and that is, I guess, our newest. It's becoming not really new anymore, but anyway, this is a resource hub. And so we had this is obviously we have our webinars on there. There is a help center, so you can click on the tab there on the home screen. You can't really mess it big and wide there on the first page, and it asks me and Judy sends us a question, whether it's about livestock or grazing or whatever, and then I will answer that, or if I am not knowledgeable in that field, we will send it out to our vast network of resources across the Grazing Coalition and our partners to get that best answered for you. So that's a great tool. Judy's been working hard on the blogs and farmer tutorials. And then, like that video you just saw was how kind of some how-to videos or informational videos to walk you through grazing practices or information. So a lot of stuff going on there, and that will be something that continues to grow. We're proud to have our partners on board with us, helping us complete these tasks and build this resource hub. The Illinois Forage and Grassland Council, University of Illinois Extension, and then the NRCS. So grateful to have them be a part of this project.